So we are absolutely going to definitively solve the value of marketing by the end of this session now. Just
Not
teasing.
really.
So I'm Howard Diamond. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer with Rise, as the introduction said. Been with the firm for 14 years, and really excited to be here today.
Yeah,
So-
Nadina Guilmiti, Vitamin Shop. Everyone know what the Vitamin Shop is? Are there shoppers here of the Vitamin Shop? Excellent. So we're a health and wellness company. We've been around since the 70s, New Jersey grown. That's where we're based. And I've been with them, as you heard, about 5 years. So oversee marketing. So there we go.
Yeah, it's a very interesting company, and you've had an interesting journey. You've been in beauty, you've been in pharma, you've been in startups. How did you find your way to Vitamin Shop, and maybe tell us a little bit about the brand?
Yeah, so I love that Howard does all his homework because he knows more about me than I do. Yeah, so I sort of been around for a while, so I've done everything from brand, agency. I'm actually Italian, so I worked in Italy, more on the tech side. Hello to all my paisanis out there. And then ended up consulting for a while, was burned out from agency world, which I'm sure a lot of you can appreciate, and then ended up at the Vitamin Shop. And was asked to oversee their marketing business, which has been really fun because it really stitches together a lot of my experience across brand, performance, CRM, with a good knowledge of e-commerce. And that's basically how I got there. It was a stitch together of kind of this interesting journey, which I think is pretty typical of marketers these days.
Yeah, and talk about the Vitamin Shop brand in terms of where you sit, and maybe your vision for the brand in terms of where you're trying to go.
Yeah, so we did a lot of work on our brand several years ago. I would say we kind of lost our way. We had a peak in the 2016 and kind of were in a little bit of decline and needed to go through transformation. And through that transformation, we went back to our foundation. We created brand pillars. We began to relook at how we expressed ourselves, our language, our logo. I know it's not the same everywhere, but it's expensive to change logos, so our logo. And at the core, the Vitamin Shop strives to be an assistant for consumers trying to better their health and wellness. And we do so through our 3 brand pillars, which are quality, innovation, and expertise. And we really try to hold true to that. So when a third-party brand comes into our doors, we do our own tests, for example. We offer free nutritional counseling. Our health enthusiasts, which is our sales folks in our stores, are incredibly educated. They can be trusted partners for our consumers. We have an incredible blog where we write about health and wellness and how challenging it is to find the right products, because it really is. And then innovation, we're a specialty retailer, so we try to bring unique, interesting brands to the forefront, and we often help those brands grow. So they're very often exclusive to us, first to market, and then they kind of move beyond us, which is great. That's what we like to see.
Yeah.
So
you mentioned brands, and we're seeing a lot of retailers become media companies to engage with those brands. How are you currently partnering with your brands, adding value for them? If you could talk a little bit about that.
I mean, we're absolutely thinking about a retail media network. There are several out there now, and several retailers that are a bit ahead of us, which is a good thing, I think. With we don't need to be first. We just want to do it right. It's very complicated. What we're doing right now is we're assessing the landscape. We're beginning to test. So we do have at our e-commerce point of sale. We have a partner. We partner with Roped, so we do some advertising with Roped, and have seen some great results. We do inbox advertising. We're working with Apple right now, so we have some customer conversion opportunities there. So we're just looking at, what can we test right now to understand the value of creating a retail media network. What do we need to set up in place? What do we need with our data? How do we make sure that, and what do we understand of both the solutions, but what the other retailer experiences are, so that we do it well. We're not a very big brand. We're 700 stores. I heard 100, which is amazing. We're a little bit bigger, 700 stores, which in the scheme of retail is really not that big. I would say we're teenager size. We're smallish.
Right, but there's complexity because you have your e-commerce business and your brick and mortar business. Maybe talk a little bit about, in terms of marketing those 2 different businesses, how you think about that.
Yeah, so one of the exciting things about having gone from a CPG brand to retail is how hard it is to have all of those pieces.
Right.
Because my job is really at the end of the day is to drive traffic. I'm responsible for the traffic we get to the store, to our app, to anywhere we convert our customers, and then I have to help our business understand who those customers are. And I've already forgotten the question.
Oh, just some of the complexities of
Yeah.
being marketing both the brick and mortar business and the online
Yeah,
business.
so it's the majority of our business is brick and mortar. That's pretty typical of a retailer. You're going to have at least 70% of your sales at brick and mortar. It's not so hard to market to those customers. It's more the attribution of what's performing well can be difficult.
Right.
And that's where the complexity comes in.
Right.
Yeah. Marketing is a little bit of art and science. Data can take you so far, and a lot of people promise a lot of things, but at the end of the day, there is a gap to retail. What works online doesn't work offline, so you have to kind of create and really learn how to blend and make your own mix. You keep testing till you get your tactics, and then test again and again and again. And that's kind of our motto. We don't have it down perfectly in terms of across the fence. We know we want our customers to shop in both places because online, offline customers, omni customers are more valuable to us. They have a better lifetime value. They spend more, all of that great stuff. They're more loyal. But, in order to kind of figure out what works best for both, it's just all testing, a lot of testing.
Got it. Switching gears a little bit, moving a little bit towards the topic the topic at hand. What's going on with your customers right now? Obviously, there's a lot of different trends we're seeing in retail. There's inflation. How is that affecting your business, and what's happening with your customers?
I don't, if you guys follow what's happening in retail is having a boom. So people are really, and it's not just with us, we're seeing it too in traffic. Like, I'm a hero for the Vitamin Shoppe right now because I'm driving a lot of traffic. So I think everyone thinks I'm magic. I'm really not. At the end of the day, there's a lot of people who just want to get out there. So post-COVID enthusiasm for just walking into a store. So that is absolutely what we're seeing, but we're also seeing it online. On the other side, and where you're seeing inflation and sort of wallet pressure is happening, is conversion's been softer. We're seeing it takes longer for people to get a lot of traffic, but they're not quite converting. We're seeing some AOV kind of come down. So there's a little bit of a rebalancing post-COVID, where all of those things were really high, especially for health and wellness. So we were very lucky to benefit from people needing supplements during COVID. We're kind of seeing people pull back a little bit now, or being more cautious, more coupon oriented. Everyone's looking for a coupon and a promotion much more so than pre-COVID. So it's kind of a mixed bag, I would say.
Interesting. We're seeing a lot of brands do different things, and it's great to hear that you're seeing some boom. We're seeing brands that are holding budget back to maybe use later in the year, where we're seeing some be more aggressive. How do you approach budgeting, and kind of where do you stand on that spectrum?
So we're kind of a flip to most brands, where our best time of year is January, first quarter. Makes sense, right? You're setting up your health wellness goals, you're dieting, all of that good stuff. So this is our boom. So we actually start strong in December. So we do a ramp really hard. So we hit January really hard, and that has always worked well with us. There was actually a couple scenarios before my time where we flipped that and it was not successful. So I always feel like lean in when your consumers are wanting you, and that's where we lean in most. That being said, with the changes in the environment, we have been very cautious with budget. We have absolutely pulled back. And, part of our topic is, how do you as a marketer kind of hold your own when you're in a retail environment, which means merchant-led, typically. It's all about merchandising and product. And you're trying to make sure that your business leaders are not making decisions around pulling back in marketing. And that can be very, very challenging in this environment.
Absolutely. So I was reading over the weekend, Media Post has reported, I think, 8 straight months of decline of ad spend, although digital has ticked up a little bit, taking some of that share. So I thought we'd do a little bit of audience participation here, maybe see a little bit of a trend. Raise your hand if you're going to be increasing budgets in 2023 over 22. So we have one person. How about staying flat? Okay. And how about decreasing? And some shows not to. We have some no response. It's hard to get an exact trend there, but this is something that we're seeing. It's a lot of people, a little bit of uncertainty out there. Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. Interest rates keep rising. We know that people are losing their jobs across the board, and we're seeing kind of margin pressure, which I'm sure a lot of retailers are experiencing despite the great traffic. So, and then within retail and marketing, we hear the word incrementality a lot. So proving out the value of every dollar we spend is critical. And we do it. We've actually been, we've done so much testing since I've been at the Vitamin Shoppe about the value of every dollar. One of the successes I've had there is being best friends with my finance team.
Yep.
So I actually have someone in finance embedded in my team. And that has worked incredibly well because he can speak my language just as well as I can. So I don't need to be in the room. I know that he can defend why I'm spending what and where. And that's been magic for me. But we have been very cautious. So I'm not going to spend I think at one point we were looking at a creator for a big campaign. It would have cost a lot of money. We kind of went down that route. And we decided not to. We pulled back because there was a little bit too much of a long tail with the performance and sort of what we could get back, and we weren't sure it was going to work. So unless I'm really sure and I can tell the business, I know this is going to work and this is what we need to do, I'll likely hesitate and probably back off, which is a little bit of what's happening this year. It's just backing off on the things that you're not sure about, or testing in more subtly so that I can have proof points that, yes, it's going to work for me and I'm good to go.
Yeah, we heard from a client, they will remain nameless, say recently, we can't do this unless it's a sure thing. And that's obviously very dangerous as well, because then you lose the opportunity to do innovation and testing. You have a very unique situation with having an embedded finance person. What might be some of, if you don't have that, what might be some of the recommendations how to gain that alignment in terms of educating the executive suite on what the value of marketing is?
Yeah, and I would encourage, finance typically has a huge voice at the C-suite level. So if you can't be lucky enough for me, have someone embedded, certainly what the other thing I do, the way the partnership started, because I had a lot of pushback when I first got to the Vitamin Shoppe, is I would invite my finance team to a lot of the testing I was doing. So we did a huge holdout test. They were at the table. In fact, they could have a voice in what the model looked like. So I would absolutely recommend those kinds of partnerships, as much as maybe it doesn't sound like fun or painful, or they're not going to be with you. At the end of that particular test, and this sort of started our road to success, it worked in my favor, and they were on board. So thank God it worked in my favor. So I was able to prove out that, yes, this is a channel we should be in. It's working. And they agreed. And then even when I do tests that fail, they're there with me, and we hold hands, and we're like, okay, we agreed. This was a test, didn't work, we're moving on. So I still believe the partnership with finance is critical to success. Absolutely. For the C-suite level. And then for C-suite, especially in my early days at the Vitamin Shoppe, it was a lot of educating and patience. I think at one point I even did a presentation on the 4 Ps, just to remind our executives that no, marketing does not solve all problems. There's actually, it's a little more, believe it or not, but that's how I started at sort of that foundational simplicity of hey, this is one part of your customer's journey. It's not everything. As much as I'd like to have an ego and say marketing's everything, it's really not. It's truly a component of the whole wheel.
Absolutely. You also mentioned incrementality, a little bit of a curveball. And I think that over the years, there's been so many different types of solutions that have been out there, multi-touch attribution. Some of it is delivered, some of it is not delivered, especially for the mid-market. Any recommendations on how to approach some of those advanced measurement tools to get that value? Yeah,
I don't think just do holdouts. That's it.
Holdouts.
Holdouts.
Okay.
With audiences. For me, that's the simplest. Easiest. You don't need anything fancy for that. You can just find a holdout within, whether it's email or direct mail or even paid media. I've done holdouts at the DMA level, and comparison to others. Like it's super simple, and it's tangible enough also for non-technical partners to understand. It's that simple, and that's often is a good, unfortunately, I think a lot of the media mix modeling tools, especially with cookies going away, I know there's other solutions now in market, but it's very expensive.
Yeah.
And, probably not a lot of juice there. So if you're going to do something that's inexpensive, super easy, just takes a while, just do a holdout.
Absolutely, yeah. A lot of those tools are built for larger brands, large TV
We're
budgets.
too small, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Switching gears a little bit, talk about building your team and making sure you have the right talent to help you deliver on this vision.
Yeah, so I love to be as hands-off as I can be. I prefer not to be in the weeds if I don't have to be. So I really look for people who know more than I do in different areas. So I have, for example, an amazing head of loyalty. That's where she grew up. She's incredible, and she knows way more than I do, and that's great for me because she's going to be taking care of things or thinking through things that I'm not going to, foresee. So those are the people. I also look for. There's somebody else on my team, talent that I believe can replace me. So I literally look for people who's going to replace me. How can I get that person there, and how do I make room for them? I've also done things like I've not hired directors because I think my manager is going to get there in a year or two, and I wait for them.
Yeah.
So I sometimes, and I cover the gaps where I need to. So that's the way I think through my team. I really think about succession. People stay because they're challenged and they see a path forward. So I'm constantly worrying about what's everybody's path forward so that I can have them stay with me as long as possible. And we have pretty good tenure, which is on my team, which is, I think, part of that I'm doing all of these things.
That's excellent. And a tough market too in New York City, right?
Very tough market in New York. So, there's some of the best brands there in the world. I can't necessarily, we're in New Jersey, so we're not sexy. We're in Secaucus. Like, you're not even going into the city. So the best I can do is help people with their careers, make sure they're learning, getting what they need. I keep them challenged, throw new things at them, make room for them to grow, all of that, because it's going to be really hard for me to hire. So I prefer not to hire. And as I said, I don't want to be in the weeds. So if they're awesome and they can feel like they have kind of a space and their own little monopoly in my world, which is also good.
One last question, then maybe we can open it up. So you talked about the team, and then we talked about innovation. There's a lot of things going on with micro trends and the need to sort of capture things in real time, being able to act on them. Do you reserve budget to be able to deploy in those situations? And
I do.
How do you go about that?
Yeah. So it's not easy because I feel like marketing's on your P&L on sort of so it's always a place to cut. Unfortunately, I'm sure all marketers know that. So I always reserve budget or have areas of my budget that I know what I add a little fat here and there. But there are moments, and part of that fat though is to lean into moments that are critical. And it could be anything from sometimes our private brand group, which I'm responsible for supporting marketing, has an incredible innovation that I want to lean into. Last year, for example, we launched a collaboration with DC Comics. It was very quick to market. It was not really planned. It was planned, but it came about faster than I anticipated. And I knew it would be really important. So I pulled from different areas in order to support that innovation. So I do try to make room for these sort of critical moments. And then even from a local perspective, whether it's certain DMAs that need extra support, or I need to do certain activities at the store level for whatever reason, sort of get a little bit more local, I always make sure that I have either line items or kind of that fat here and there that I can pull from so that I can be nimble and fast. I kind of have my meat and potatoes budget. It's always on. I'm never going to touch it. And that's for the searches and the CRMs. And then I have that little little spots of fat that I know I can kind of dig into to be fast and nimble.
Perfect. All right. I know this is an interesting topic. We've covered a lot of topics. Maybe we can open it up for questions to the audience. Any questions?
Anybody have a supplement issue they want to ask me about? I can answer that too.
Perfect.
Hi. So you said you do a lot of inbox sampling, and for retail media, you charge the different brands, and then do you do a bounce back? How does that?
So we don't have a retail media network yet, but what we do, we actually have a partner that does inbox advertising for us. So mostly D2C advertising. Through the partner, they help us select vendors that are interested. We get paid. Yeah, it's pretty basic and simple. Yes, also with samples, without samples. We just make sure they're not competitive with things that we're already selling, because usually it's products or services that are not things that we sell at all.
So you monetize, right? You monetize.
We just
your
monetize
audience.
it. Yep.
Yep. And
So it's kind of the beginnings of a retail media, if you want to, but it's very simple, very
but you
simplistic.
haven't started your own, and let's say
We have not yet. Nope.
a particular
That's-
brand pop it in your own boxes.
We haven't started.
Sorry,
what?
like have a Zarbee's or somebody like that.
Yes, that's.
Put a sample like that. You work with them directly, not through the agency that.
We
places
usually
it.
do we're a small organization. Like I wouldn't be able to handle talking to lots of different brands, so I'd prefer this piece we outsourced. Obviously, they work with us, our partner, but we outsource it so that we can have a bevy of their brands, and we don't
Sure.
have to sort of reach out to every. Occasionally, we do a one-on-one. I think we did something with HelloFresh one-on-one.
Sure.
And we've done the reverse with other partners as well. I think we've done inboxes with other partners where we kind of work one-on-one to get learnings. So occasionally we'll do it, but honestly, I don't have a huge team, and if I'm testing into something new, I probably start with outsource and eventually bring it in if I think it's worth it.
And do you have a single DC, or do you send from store to?
We have both. We do. We have more than one DC, and we also ship from store.
Nice. Thanks.
Pretty simple question. Just curious if you've noticed, kind of going this year, more cost-conscious consumers, a move towards owned brands being kind of preferred, or if you're still seeing some of your like top shelf brands selling out.
That's a really good question. Thank you. And thank you. You did promise me last night you would ask me a question, so I appreciate it. Yeah, we are seeing that. So the Vitamin Shoppe has their own private brand. We have sort of the if you want a vitamin C, that's pretty just a good quality vitamin C, not overly branded, you're going to buy our product. So we are seeing some transition to own brands. Absolutely seeing, as I mentioned before, promotional sensitive customers looking for coupons. So we've actually a couple times had to pull back from our affiliate program because it was just too hot. So from coupons looking for, from consumers looking for coupons. And we've also have a few brands on our ProSup side, so protein supplement side, which are our brands, which are, I think they've doubled over the past few years in growth. Part of it is because it's a great brand, but the other part of it is it's an own brand, it's a good quality brand, and it's very competitive price points, and it's trusted. So yes, I would say yes and yes. We're seeing that for sure.
Just building on that, you just mentioned affiliate marketing. Can you talk a little bit about the role that plays in your strategy?
Yeah, so we have an affiliate marketing program. I want to make sure, sometimes affiliate means a lot of different things. So I just want to make sure I know which one you're talking about. It's, the Rakutens of the world. Is that what you're referring to? Or are you referring to working with a network of, is it?
In my mind, what I'm thinking is, how do you use somebody else to
Got it.
connect you with the consumer?
Yes. Okay. So, because we do both. So affiliate, when I mentioned affiliate, I was thinking more of like the Rakuten, sort of on the publisher side, but we also do work with network. We've tried a couple things. So we've done one where, for example, we gave sort of special coupons or discounting for trainers, fitness trainers. We've done some where we partnered with a organization that actually does licensing for trainers. And we've also do some where we partner with bulk buyers, and we sort of give discounting for all of those. And those are kind of all, in many respects, an affiliate network. I find it very challenging because for us, they always stay very niche and small. Certainly useful in maybe not the bulk buyers because they're pretty big, but it's hard to scale those in a significant, relevant way, and it's a lot of work with like you need a sales force to do it. So I think it's useful, but I don't think it'll be currently the core of what we do. Our core really is sort of our direct to consumer and store approach rather than going through networks. We find it very challenging. Doing it at scale at a level that we feel like is useful.
Cool. So embed someone in finance and your team and holdouts. So that's the value of marketing.
And a little meat, right? A little meat, a little fat.
And a little fat, yeah.
Cool. Any other questions?
Anybody else?
All right. Thanks so much.
Excellent. Thank you,
Yeah.
guys.